Millions of Americans are dreading another drawn-out campaign between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And that's not just me saying it, it's what the polls are showing us. They feel we've been there, done that, and it wasn't fun last time, and this time would only be worse. So what does this mean for the opportunities for third parties? Joining us now is Spike Cohen, who was the Libertarian Party's vice presidential candidate in the 2020 election. Spike, thanks for joining us. What hope do you think you have this time around? Do you think you're going to get a prominent spot on the ballot, get some more votes while people are tired of the last two choices?
I certainly hope so. Right now, recent polling showed that around 60% of Americans said that they did not want Donald Trump to be the Republican nominee again, and 70% or over 70% said that they didn't want Joe Biden to be the nominee. At this point, the Democratic Party could run the White House's Coke dealer instead of Joe Biden, and he'd probably get more votes and be more popular than Biden is right now. And yet, the Republican and Democrat parties seem absolutely insistent on giving us Trump Biden too, and I think this is probably a very good year, a very good election for the Libertarian Party and other third parties to shine.
Look, are you concerned at all that you might put a candidate up, then there might be Donald Trump running on his own if he won't agree to support whoever the Republican candidate is? I mean, we could have a multi-candidate field in a completely historic election. This is really shaping up to be unprecedented.
I think that would be a good thing, though. I'm a believer in competition, and I think that voters, the American people, Australian people around the world, everywhere, voters deserve to have as many choices as they can. I've never bought the theory that in a nation of around 350 million people, that we should only be able to have two viable options. I do know that there are some sore loser laws and things like that that might make it harder for Donald Trump or RFK Jr. or someone who's run for a party nomination to then run as an independent. But frankly, if they do run, I think that would be good. I think that, especially in a nation as big as the U.S., there should be as many options as possible. That would also help kill the narrative that you have to either pick this choice or this choice, and if you vote third party or independent, that you're somehow, your vote is being taken away from one of the major candidates.
Well, I mean, that is a logical deduction to say, look, if I vote Libertarian and you were going to vote Republican, it also means that basically the vote does go towards the Democrat candidate because you're just taking off the margin for the Republicans.
Yeah, I think the problem with that narrative is that it implies that your vote belongs to a specific political party. I mean, frankly, if the Republican Party candidate, or for that matter, the Democrat Party candidate, can't deliver and people choose not to vote for them, they lost that vote and it's their fault, especially in a first-past-the-post system like we have in the U.S., where a lot of times a vote for a third party is truly just a protest vote against the two larger parties. If those parties aren't delivering and an increasing number of people are saying, I don't care which one of you wins, I'm not voting for you, that's not the third party's fault. That's certainly not the Libertarian Party's fault. That is the fault of those candidates that lost those votes.
So what's the actual differential you're putting forward here? If you're saying you shouldn't vote for the other guys, is it just a personality contest that you're saying Joe Biden's too old to run again, we're sick of Donald Trump, so give us a go because we're the only other option?
It's certainly not a personality contest for me. The reality is the mess that we are in right now is not the fault of any half of the ruling class. It's the fault of the entire ruling class. Both parties have put us in tens of trillions of dollars in debt. I think it's up to 32 trillion now and counting. Both parties undertook the massive COVID regime lockdowns and school closures and mandates that have caused irreparable harm across the country and did little to nothing to affect COVID itself. Both parties have been hand in hand and doing everything they can to prevent other parties from even being able to be on the ballot. And I argue that this election is far too important for us to throw our vote away for the people and the parties that put us in this mess to begin with.
What do you make of the potential field of Republican candidates? Is there anyone that you'd be more keen on than other?
I think right now we're in the season where the anti-establishment candidates, there's kind of two groups of candidates right now outside of Trump and Biden in the Republican and Democrat parties. There are the people who are running as the anti-establishment candidates to try to disrupt things. And then there are the ones who are running to be either Trump's VP or Biden's VP if he decides not to go with Kamala Harris. But we've seen what happens with those anti-establishment candidates. They get railroaded by their party establishment, and then they endorse the establishment establishment candidate. So I think it really comes down to, I think we're looking at Trump v. Biden. I think there's a very intense contest for who's going to be his VP right now in the form of the primary contest. But I think that we're looking at status quo versus status quo. And until we break that cycle and break this two-party system and allow for there to be far more viable options, we're going to continue getting more and more incremental evil every single election cycle.
Just one topic that's popped up late today, so sorry to throw you a curveball, but Marjorie Taylor Greene getting kicked out of the Freedom Caucus. They said she's not right-wing enough, which is pretty extraordinary stuff. Would you welcome her over to the Libertarian Party if she was interested?
Well, everyone is welcome to the Libertarian Party. In terms of her representing the party as an actual representative, we'd have to have some serious conversations about some of her more authoritarian impulses on things. I would be very interested to know why she is not welcome in the Freedom Caucus. She seems to be the prototypical Freedom Caucus member. As I said, everyone is welcome as a member of the party. In terms to represent the party, we need to have some serious conversations about the party platform and our desire to give the power back to the people instead of trying to lord over them.
Yeah, I guess this is like, I understand the libertarian impulse, absolutely, but it's kind of a tough sell to say you're anti-establishment, but you're running to run the establishment.
Well, we're running to dismantle the establishment. I mean, that we're not running to completely tear apart the government. We're running because the government is not respecting the people. It's not respecting our lives. It's not respecting our ability to make decisions for ourselves. And it's certainly not respecting our well-being. And until we have people in office who do respect the people and do treat the people as adults, things are going to continue to get worse and worse with every year and every election cycle. And so what the Libertarian Party is running on is saying that we recognize that people do best when they are most free and when they are most respected. We recognize that the problems we're facing are as a direct result of there being way too much power in the hands of way too few people. And we recognize that the answer to that, the solution, is to take that power back and put it back in the hands of the people where it always belonged.
Spike Cohen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.